quick recap. So now it's the Knicks versus the Boston Celtics, right? And who's gonna win that series? I think it's pretty simple and not too much need to explain. I think I picked the Celtic over the Knicks, right? So let's go over what the Knicks have. They're just a bunch of inconsistent team. I really do not trust Jalen Brunson. I mean, Jalen Brunson is a really good player, but just because you have good player, that doesn't mean you're a title contender. No, you need to be a leader, right? Jalen Brunson is not a leader. I know that he's been to the playoff like several times and he's experienced, but the thing is that he has not got past the second round, right? So yeah, I don't believe Jalen Brunson, and also Karl Anthony Towns is also inconsistent, right? That's why the Knicks are inconsistent, But yeah, they do have really good wins and they do have really bad losses, right? They just play against the Pistons, right? They just play against the Pistons, that hasn't been to the playoff, right? Or have not won a playoff game in like a long time, in almost 2 decades. Well, since 2008, right? So you can calculate like how many years of drought the Pistons have not won. I want to congratulate Pistons for making this a close series, right? But if the Knicks wants to be a really good team, they have to to like manhandle the Pistons. They should have beat them in the blowout, right? They should have just blown this Pistons out of the team and make them quit really early. They should have swept them in 4 games, right? To be honest with you. So yeah, I know that the Pistons, they have a really good, young, hungry team. They have Kate Cunningham. I mean, the Knicks are the 3rd seed, right? I mean, they are not the underdogs, right? And the series went a lot closer, I think, right? 16, yeah, anything of more than 5 games, like, okay, the series must be very close, right? Just because it's not even game 7. Game 6, Game 7 series, are close, especially if the game isn't a blowout, right? I feel like, Knicks, versus Pistons, the Knicks was up like double digit or something like that, and they just blow double digit lead, right? Last night I did watch the Knicks, on the live scores. They were up double digit, and then all of a sudden, like a few moments later, I just come back to watch the Knicks, and all of a sudden they're down to the Pistons in the 4th quarter, right? They almost lost to the Pistons in the 4th quarter. And this is why I don't trust the Knicks being the Boston. This is my explanation. Boston is not going to be any easier than Pistons, right? Even if the Pistons advance, like, they can still put up a fight against Boston. I feel like they still can win at least 1 game, but the Pistons didn't make it, so that's why I don't talk about the Pistons, right? They lost. They're home now. They're in Cancun, so yeah. And we go over to Boston right now. The Boston do have flawless, they keep jacking up threes, that's Boston sometimes plays stupid, right? And I mean, this is what annoys me the most, with a lot of teams, right? All they do is just jack up threes and not playing so physical, right? And not just going to the paint all the time, right? So, and also they have an injured Drew Holiday, but I think the Boston should be able to get the job done, right? Imagine the Knicks losing 2 games at home, to a team that they should beat, right? And their home crowd is like very loud. And then on the road, of course it's tougher, but then they have no losses on the road. That is called inconsistency, right? You have the advantage, you lose, and you are the disadvantage and you win, right? Yeah, because of due to the Knicks inconsistency, I feel like the Bostons are not going to sweep the Knicks. That's for sure. Because I know that Knicks are definitely going to have really 1 good game, but 1 good game does not deter the series. Does not make you take over the series. That's not it. You're only going to win 1-2 game, and that's it, right? So yeah, let's go over the Celtics. They're a championship team. You cannot put the odds against them. They have Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They have a really good squad. They have Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps Porzingis was also injured in the Orlando Magic, series, right? Matchup, right? Aside from missing Drew Holiday. So yeah, the Celtics do have several injured player, and also if this, let's be honest here, man, if Celtic wasn't injured at all, then they would have swept the Magic. They would have. that's just my honest opinion, right? So yeah, but injuries is part of the game, you know, but we cannot really, put that as an excuse, right? So that's what it is. Let me think of what Boston also has, they have very familiar players, they play better defense, right? Knicks offense and defense always fluctuate, right? So yeah, that's why, I cannot take the Knicks seriously, right? Boston, I'm a little bit more serious, but then, no team is perfect. But then, both teams are gonna get exposed, right? Celtics just has, less weaknesses, and that's why they're gonna win. It's that simple.